And now for the main event, Alexander Volkov and Tom Aspinall. Now, here's the thing. You could go back in all my videos and just see how long and how much I've been talking about Tom Aspinall. It's just Chris Dawkins and Tom Aspinall were giving me white boy Dos Santos and Cain Velasquez vibes. I love the come up. I've loved watching them take on steadily more and more better competition. I hate to say it, but like that would be the word I'd use. And obviously Aspinall has been coming out a bit better in terms of the long run, but also we just saw Dawkins take on Derek Lewis, a top 5 fighter in the heavyweight division, bar none, potentially one of the greatest fighters to ever live. With that said, Volkov has a lot of underrated ability in this fight. His length style of striking that he works behind that jab, I mean, the only fighter that's really been able to out-technically strike him is Cyril Gane, who might be the best technical striker the heavyweight division's ever seen. We'll only know that in the next 5 to 10 years. But before that, we're going to get to see Volkov take on a guy like Tom Aspinall, who, let's be real, Tom Aspinall has great developed boxing, but the guy started out as a big BJJ guy. And if you ask me, his ability to get top position and look for submissions is where I actually see this fight going. If you're planning a game plan, why would you take the opportunity to stand up in a fight with Alexander Volkov when, to be honest, some of your best baseline skills come from the BJJ area? You know, you developed as a fighter from there and you became a great boxer. So for me, I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Aspinall kind of surprises a few and uses his boxing to land a few takedowns and maybe look for some submissions. Because I think when you look at Volkov's tape, this is a fighter where you constantly have to be both cerebrally in the fight and physically in the fight. And what I mean by that is the way Cyril Gane fights is he makes it, it's like when you watch a soccer team just, you know, make those easy passes and, you know, the crosses, you know, FIFA makes it look so damn easy, right? That's what Cyril Gane does for striking at over 225 pounds. It's just, that dude is going to be so good at what he does for so long that I'm so excited to have him in the UFC. But going back to Volkov, you know, it's that fight where you just see that, yeah, he wasn't the first one to the punch. He was, the Cyril Gane, was very elusive, but Volkov never tired. Volkov constantly pushed pace, and he had the ability to start trying to land as well. So that's what I mean by it was a very technical fight. There were openings for both guys to try and make something happen. Now, with Aspinall, it's the bum rushing, it's the wrestling, and it's the BJJ on the floor and the potential boxing up top. I think Volkov can outlast him in that first 2 rounds, and then we can see what happens. That's my point here. I really believe that there's going to be so much hype on Tom Aspinall for this fight, let alone him fighting in the UK, but everything is accomplished so far. It's just going to have people, you know, looking at their chops to get some in on this action, but you start to just think of where Volkov's been great, and I hate to say it, but let alone at range where he's going to be able to do some kicks and land that beautiful jab and set things up. Think about his clinch work. If for example, Tom Aspinall goes in close, finds that boxing range, maybe looks for takedowns, or just stays in that clinch range, I can see Volkov trying to get his Muay Thai clinches going, getting some big elbows, getting some big knees in there. Attacking the body is going to be so important for Volkov because in the same way that I called the Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz fight for some reason, the first one, there's something about watching fighters who either have trouble with gas in general, but also high-profile fights to go 5 rounds is a big deal. You have to be ready for that. You have to know what that mentally feels like, not just physically, but mentally. And you cannot create the environment of your first main card headlining event in the UK. You just can't. So for me, Volkov has a lot less riding on this fight in the grand scheme of things. Yes, he's been a title contender on the outside looking in for years, but at the end of the day, Tom has so much riding on his shoulders for this fight, let alone his career of advancing in the UFC heavyweight division, but he's fighting in front of his hometown crowd. There's going to be a lot of people that are waiting to watch Tom fight, but for me, there's so many opportunities here for Volkov to play spoiler that I cannot help but just see that happening if the fight passes the first round and second round. So where do I see this? Again, live dog. I think if Tom cannot get the W in the first 2 rounds, it would be shocking for me. And put it this way, for how much I love Tom Aspinall as a fighter, the level of appreciation that I will have for him as a fighter, if he can go 5 rounds in a technical battle with Volkov, he's more ready for a title shot than I ever thought he was already. And this is a guy I've been following for so long to see him make that move. And so that's where I'm just like going to be so blown away if this goes 5 rounds and Tom Aspinall wins, because I see so many paths for him to win, but they don't go for 5 rounds because I see Volkov so good at being disciplined for those 5 rounds outside of the GOAT. So, Tom Aspinall, minus 150 makes a lot of sense to me here. I think it's going to be close to a pick'em. There's no reason for either of these guys to have a huge bump, but I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if Volkov was the favorite either. So, let's go with the hype train. Let's go with a guy like Tom Aspinall. And again, live prop bet there. If you want to bet Tom, I say take the KO or finish and even consider those first early rounds. But with Volkov, I mean, if you like the juice, let's actually get into that line quickly. Opens as a minus 126 favorite for Volkov. Now he's the dog. Very small. Highest line I see is plus 110. Tom Aspinall plus 110 opener. Now the highest line I see is minus 135. So that already, I don't know if I could even take a minus 135 line on Tom, but I could sprinkle a finish prop. I could sprinkle him, winning within the first 3 rounds or something like that, with Volkov either taking a decision or even maybe finishing with strikes in the later part of the fight. But outside of that, guys, this is a crazy fun card, and I think just with the idea of it being in the UK and them being able to fill this card up so well with European and UK talent, it's going to be so fun. It's going to be early on Saturday, and I get to go to another comedy show with Sebastian Maniscalco, so I'm looking forward to that. As always, keep it locked to SookyMMA. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Peace.